Dirty Truth Tellers.
It's Strike-Tober. It's Strike-Tober. It's Strike-Tober. It's Strike-Tober. America, workers, it's time to strike back at the corporate slime. You need to tell all of them to what? Kiss your behind. It's Strike-Tober, yeah. It's Strike-Tober, yes. See the workers, they're tired of taking your shit. Big corporations, get ready to be hit now. You're making $1 billion and I can hardly pay my rent. You need to go somewhere and start to repent now. Essential workers, that's what you call us, until it's time for us to get paid. And all you do is throw us crumbs, and then you wanna push us out of the way. Well, listen now. 37,000 healthcare gonna strike, yeah. In Oregon, they gonna strike, yeah. In California, they gonna strike, yeah. And in Hawaii, getting ready to strike, yeah. We ain't gonna take your shit. It's Strike-Tober, and we gonna hit. See, it's either the ballot or the bomb. The ballot or the bullet. You decide, it's on you. It's Strike-Tober, and we've had it. It's Strike-Tober, and we've had it. It's Strike-Tober, and we have had it. We're not full of fear anymore. Yeah, listen to what I'm saying. My mama went through it, my papa went through it, his grandmother went through it, and now we're here. We ain't going nowhere. It's Strike-Tober. Strike-Tober. It's Strike-Tober. It's Strike-Tober.
Wow, that was, I'm telling you, that was one of your greatest songs ever. I know I say that every week, that was the best song you've ever done.
Yes.
But that was a really good one.
Thank you.
I'm really, excited because, as you know, I mean, it is Strike-Tober. Now,
right.
You might know that, but you also might not know that. It really depends on where you get your information from. If you get most of your information from corporate media, and stop calling them mainstream media. They're corporate media.
They are not mainstream.
It's corporate media.
Yes.
And they have a corporate agenda, so they're not really talking too much about all the strikes that are going on around the United States right now. And all the groups that are trying to organize. We're finally fighting back. We're finally fighting back. People are not only striking, they're quitting their jobs. They're not going for these low-paying jobs because we have had it. We, meaning the working classes. We know there's an elite class and their managers class beneath them that are making unbelievable money, but the workers have had it. We've definitely had it. And when you sang that song, I started feeling like, I'm not going to lie, I felt like almost the way I used to feel when I was protesting the Vietnam War. I felt like, you know something? Finally, there's a moment, like, you know what? Maybe there will be some action, because the workers of the world need to unite. We need to unite. I think somebody once said that. Yeah. Workers of the world need to unite.
Yes.
And, I'm not going to lie. This, when we started finding out about this stuff when we were getting ready for this show, it really turned us on.
Yes,
it turned us on. We were getting like aroused by this.
Yes.
And then she puts on the speech that Malcolm X did about how long was that before he died?
Yeah,
like
it was
month
like
before?
I think it was a month before the one he did.
Bullets or ballots?
The ballot or the bullet.
Ballot or the bullets.
Yes.
And you know, this was some of the most powerful speech. You know, Malcolm X. There's no way the United States is not going to let him. They had to kill him. You know, I don't know who exactly did it, whether it was the FBI, the CIA.
Oh, they're all entangled in it.
They've always made us believe that the Nation of Islam did it, but you want to know something? There may have been elements in the Nation of Islam that the FBI messed around with and got them involved, but Malcolm X had to go. His speech was so powerful. It was so hot.
I mean, he was fearless.
Fearless.
And you know.
But that's not supposed to turn a couple on. Like, you and I are definitely unique people.
Who says what turns
Well, I'm not saying that's not what people normally assume is going to get a couple.
It did me.
Got me hot too. We made some wild love.
That's right, in the name of Malcolm X.
In the name of Malcolm X.
Thank you.
And not only Malcolm X, but the fact that it's finally happening.
Yes.
And they're not going to let you know this. You have to seek this out.
You're not going to read this. You're not going to see this on CNN.
So that's why you need to come to.
None of it.
You need to actually spread the word about this show. You know, I know, you know, you can tell people about this show because we're going to talk about it. We're going to do the news because we are news. This is a news show.
Yes.
So we're going to focus our whole show today on this issue.
On Strike-Tober.
Strike-Tober.
Not October. Strike-Tober.
So let's play the news theme and get ready to do the news.
Okay.
That was really, you just sing good today. You look beautiful. Sang good. The earrings are great.
Oh, my friend made them.
Really good. Good evening. We're Epstein and Hassan, the dirty truth tellers. And yes, I kissed my co-anchor. I did. I kissed her on the cheek, but she's also my wife.
Yes.
My wife and co-anchor. My wife and co-anchor.
Yes.
And here's the news. So let me put on my anchorman glasses.
Yes. Okay.
So as we just mentioned, this is now called Strike-Tober.
Strike-Tober.
And we took this from an article on theintercept.com. Shortly before midnight on Wednesday, production workers at a John Deere facility in Waterloo, Iowa, started shutting down the plant. The plant was already almost empty, with John Deere telling overnight workers to stay home. 3 days earlier, union members of the United Auto Workers, meeting in Iowa, Illinois, and Kansas, had voted overwhelmingly to reject a proposed contract that gave sub-inflation raises and eliminated pensions for all new hires. This rejection stunned both the union leadership and the company. Even some of the workers who had voted no and authorized the strike were surprised that it was actually happening. 10,000 workers walked off the job. Let me repeat that. 10,000 workers walked off the job. And as you can tell, these are in Midwest states, Iowa, Illinois, and Kansas, where these workers stood up for themselves. The 10,000 workers are striking John Deere for the first time in 35 years. Just confirmed Waterloo had their picket signs, one worker said before the strike. And then he said this: shit is about to get real.
That's right.
So let me just point this out to our listeners, Hassan, that John Deere, the agricultural equipment company that couldn't give people normal raises and didn't give new workers pensions, they must be struggling, and that's why they were unable to give people that.
Struggling like us.
Actually, not really, because it seems that they made $35 billion in net sales and revenue in 2020. John Deere made $35.54 billion and still were looking to fuck the workers up the ass.
Wow.
Unbelievable, Hassan.
Wow. Yes, yes. Now, this strike wave isn't the 1940s, okay? When 1 in 10 U.S. workers went on strike in the space of a year. But it isn't the labor lull of the 2010s either, when large strike activity in the private sector fell towards zero. Today, workers, are increasingly militant. Yes. That is, unwilling to accept bad terms of employment, but they are not particularly organized. With union density at its historical level, the unions are playing an inspirational role. But they aren't the only source of action, which is wonderful. What we're seeing now is strike activity beginning to rise from a decades-long trials as the essential worker. Remember, that's a term that they used a lot. Essential worker.
Those are the grocery store workers, the delivery people, nurses, those people.
Those people that had to get out, get on the subways,
during the COVID,
and take care of us. While if you were able to be at home,
working
you didn't
from
work.
home, you know, with your six-figure salary.
They couldn't afford to work from home.
These were the essential workers, and we all loved them so much during the COVID. But then right after the COVID,
we don't love them anymore.
You know, big companies that were giving them, let's say, $1 or $2 an hour more for being so essential. They felt that was too much, even though that same big company, for example, you know, when we call this Whole Foods, don't call it Whole Foods, it's Amazon. You're shopping at Amazon. Whole Foods ended a long time ago. This has nothing to do with Whole Foods. This is Amazon, a company where I believe the owner is worth like $200 billion, maybe a few bucks less now because he got divorced. You know, he needed to get a woman with fake titties. You know,
but she can fly a plane.
Whatever. But he didn't want to give you a raise.
No.
But this is very powerful stuff. You know why? Because it's not coming just from the unions, Hassan. It's coming grassroots.
Well, this whole term essential workers, what's interesting about it is it's a new category of worker born of the COVID pandemic. Challenges the boss to make good on that distinction. And there are tens of thousands of workers waiting in the wings to strike.
Right, and these are the people who work for Amazon, who work for a fast food industry. It's coming from the bottom up, and that's what's exciting about this. Because the unions themselves are often being very corrupt. The unions are you know, my grandmother went to jail for fighting for the International Lady Garments Workers Union. My grandmother kicked a police officer in his balls, and she was arrested. And this is the greatest family story of all of our family stories. And she's actually buried in a socialist cemetery on Long Island with other Jewish labor people who fought very hard for the International Ladies Garment Workers Union. My grandmother hated Republicans. She despised Republicans. She even told me when I was a little boy that I was kidding with her. I said I was going to be a Republican and run for president. She said she wouldn't vote for me. Even though she was a socialist, she had great confidence and trust in the Democratic Party. And she became, you know, she felt that they were fighting for workers. Now today we all know that that's not happening. The Democratic Party is also, just like the Republican Party, owned by corporate interests. The same people who give the Republicans money give the Democrats money, so there's no one fighting for workers. But here's the great news.
Other than workers fighting for ourselves.
Not only are people going on strike, a lot of people are quitting their jobs, and a lot of people are not taking their bullshit jobs. They took away the $300 unemployment thing because Biden buckled to the Republicans, mainly the fast food industry, saying no one wants these jobs because you're giving them $300. So they took the $300 away, and guess what? Nobody still wants these jobs because you can't live in certain states in America.
You'll end up going into debt more, wouldn't you?
But there's certain states in America who are paying you $7 or $8 an hour. Even in New York, it's $15, which is ridiculously low, but it's not $7 an hour. So you want to get people to work? Pay them $22 an hour. They'll come to work for you.
Not going to happen. I mean, my father worked in the Board of Ed. He was a custodian, a groundsman, and you know, in the town that I was born in Portchester, most of those jobs were first given to Irish and then to Italians. So my father was one of the few black males in there, and he went through hell.
No, unions weren't cool with black people. There were always black people coming. That's what I'm talking about, unions.
He stood in there. He stood in there.
So we need to have a new kind of union, because while we were, you know, see, people don't understand this. We actually do investigate before we do the show. To make, you know, to do the news. And we came across something that was kind of shocking to us, that Randy Weingarten, who's the head of the teachers union, the National Teachers Union. Now, she used to be in New York City, but now it's like a national thing.
Yes.
She makes $565,000 a year.
That's 5 to 7 times more.
9 times more.
More than a teacher.
Right. But it's not yes, that's true. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't get a good salary because she's good at her job, obviously, and whatever that means. She's a union leader. But over $500,000 to run a union, that's to me, that's morally wrong. That's morally incorrect. You know, you want to pay her $2,000 a week, $100,000 for the year, even $150,000. You know, she's a top person.
So the other guy too, was it the ACL?
Somebody from the AFL-CIO. He's also making like $500,000 a year.
Yeah.
How could union leaders be making this kind of money?
And I'm gonna tell you, I was a teacher for over 20-something years, and the amount of money that teachers invest personally that you don't get back, the amount of time that you put in, it's not a job that when you come home it's over. It's not a job that when you on the weekends it's over. And we have no respect whatever for teachers, and it's an insult in America with all the money we have. It's an insult.
Well, that's because they want to privatize education. Everything they've privatized, whether it's education, prisons, hospitals. We saw what privatization has done during the COVID here in the United States. Health, do you know why there's a flashing light there?
Yeah, it means we're recording.
Oh, okay. I'm an unusual newsman. I am a moronic.
What is the flashing light
I am a moronic newsman. But you see, the key thing for a newsman is to have a deep voice. You can be a moron, but if you have a deep the history of, let's say, Ted Knight, Ted Baxter on Mary Tyler Moore, something on your tongue, honey?
No, my lip. But I know what the flashing light is, though.
So I may be stupid about some things, but I'm not stupid about this. American workers, American poor people have had enough. You know, the next step is going to be very dangerous. Let's leave it at that. You got to pay people a working wage. And these unions are just as bad. Like, we saw that movie about Jimmy Hoffa, the terrible Martin Scorsese movie.
Yeah.
You know, unions were very corrupt, and they didn't look out for their workers. They all got tied in with organized crime and stuff like that. But nowadays, with only, I think, 7% of American workers are in a union. You need a union. Fast food workers, you need a union.
You need
Amazon, the dirtiest company of all.
You need a union.
And you want to know who all the chief executives are that work for Amazon? They all worked in the Obama administration. So right after they got out, they go to work. It's this thing where they go from big corporations, government, and we're getting scammed, and we know it now. We know what's happening, and we're going to keep reporting on this.
That's right.
This is what, we don't have a big platform, but you know what? Maybe you reach, whatever you reach, it's better than nothing, because all of you who love Rachel Maddow and Don Lemon, see how many reports they're doing on this. You know, the other night...
Have they mentioned that these strikes are going on all over the United States? No.
And you know what else they don't mention? They don't mention Julian Assange, who's being tortured by the United States government.
Why not? They're journalists.
They're journalists. You know, how come they don't protect another journalist? So we know the answer to this. Everything is owned by these giant corporations, the mega rich. And this is the first good sign. That's why we finally, it's been a really long time since we had sex like that.
I know.
Between Malcolm X, all these strikes, what is it called? Strike-Tober.
That's
Strike-Tober and
what
Malcolm
was Malcolm's line? It's the ballot?
Or the bullet. And he said that in 1964 because he still believed that the ballot was the way to go.
Oh.
And what we've learned in America is...
It ain't.
It's not. Because... And, this is something that we talk about, and the other day Hassan put on a post on Facebook about, I think it was, which one is it, Katie Couric?
Yes.
Ruth Ginsburg, she's interviewing Ruth Ginsburg, and Ruth Ginsburg said some very silly, kind of racist things, and Katie Couric pulled it out.
Regarding the kneeling. Football games.
When Kaepernick was kneeling, she talked about how good America had been to his parents and grandparents.
Yes.
And she also, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, voted against Native people owning land, claiming that Christians had a right to the land because
we
Christians...
might have gotten 3 hits on that, and that's okay.
Right. And
We're
people hate
still
it.
gonna
If we
put it
talk
out.
about Obama or you talk about
still
Ginsburg,
gonna put it out.
you get people that they don't want to hear it because they have like they believe that if someone is black or a woman or gay, they're going to be on their side.
And that's how they've tricked us.
That they're not going to be on your side.
Does
it's
not
always about
mean that.
class.
Yes.
It's
yes.
class war.
Yes.
It's
yes.
always been about class, and it's always going to be about class, Hassan. So,
I think it was great.
that was a political show tonight.
Yes.
We should give them something that they could at least, something sexual, because we are famous for our sexual. So let's give them an interracial tongue kiss. Is that okay with you?
I'm not going to mess up my lipstick. You can kiss me on my cheek.
Then I'd rather just kiss you on your ass then.
No,
if I have to kiss...
you can kiss me on my cheek. And I'll kiss you on your cheek.
No, you can kiss me on my mouth.
No. And that was the news.
And now, stick around.
We have to do the news thing. What are you doing?
You couldn't kiss me. You couldn't
Mess
kiss
up
me.
my lipstick. No,
The show is over. You could kiss up no lipstick. It wouldn't have been anything.
Now look at you. Look at you.
So please stick around because
Yeah.
we have a great interview coming up with a very, very powerful...
She's a shiro.
Shiro.
She is someone who is out here fighting for your rights, and you don't even know her.
So stick around as the Black and the Jew, the Dirty Truth Tellers, interview Gia Lisa Kahne.
Yes.
And then when she's finished, stick around because the Jackies will be there. Stick around. In other words, just stick around.
Yes.
So good evening and welcome. We're Epstein and Hassan, the Dirty Truth Tellers. And Hassan, I'm really excited tonight. I am really excited tonight because we have an amazing guest. Just to read all the things that she, when we went and tried to find out, inside information on her.
Yes.
There's like so many things. We don't have that much time, so we can't say it all.
Yes.
So let's just welcome Gia Lisa Kahne.
Thank you.
Hey, Gia, how are you?
I am thrilled to be with you two.
Very happy to have you. And we want to start out by telling you that for quite some period of time now, we have been super impressed, almost looking at you as a heroic figure. Because unlike so many people who do all their activism on Facebook and Instagram, you actually...
You walk the talk, Gia.
You did it. You took it to the streets.
Yes.
And
put your life in jeopardy.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So let's start out by talking about your activism with the Black Lives Matter. How did you get involved in this, and what motivated you to
why?
take?
Like you did. It's not something that you have to do. It's like why would you put yourself in a lot of dangerous, very uncomfortable situations?
Well, I've always been inclined towards activism and protesting. When I was in my I was still in college with the Iraq War and all of that, and I hit the streets for that. I was absolutely appalled at what was going on, and I felt a similar outrage then, and I felt like fighting that hard, and nonetheless, I couldn't get myself arrested then. And I only realized it's a very different situation when you're fighting for racial justice and equality, because they put you on the mark in a completely different way. And it does become life-threatening, which is absolutely shocking when you look at what we're actually doing. We're adorable. We're talking about very serious issues.
Yes.
But we're doing it in a very loving way. So when the protest started, it was my first day out on May 30th, my first day out of the house. And I had walked all the way downtown to see Carlo at the theater. And on my way home, I just saw a protest. and I jumped in, and I never left then, from morning to night after that.
Now, the thing is, this was all going on during the COVID, when the COVID had first sort of hit in New York, right? This is May, right? So this was like in the beginning.
In the beginning of
the COVID thing. And so not only were you, putting yourself on the line in terms of just being
Let's get real, Gia. As a white person, to put yourself in that situation, I'm sure that there had to be people saying, first of all, not understanding that this is coming from your heart. Why bother? Why do that? Plus, there's COVID out here. What was the seed for you that you just had to do this for your, in your life?
Well, I mean, no one questioned me that I know, because they wouldn't be in my life if they didn't know that completely. I have a Black family.
Mm-hmm.
Since I was a kid, my sister has Black children, and we have a large extended family, and we've always just been that way. Mm-hmm. And my friends as well, and my community when I moved to New York. So it just feels natural to me. And I have the privilege of being able to do it. I have my health. I can do it. I'm not scared. And I can put my body in places that other people can't.
Yes.
So I went with that. It wasn't a choice. I don't know why someone wouldn't do that after seeing that video, even if you are ignorant to what's going on, even if you don't know about systemic racism.
What was interesting is when it first happened, there was a lot of support in general because so many people saw the brutality of the video. But over time, it has become, again, even as the summer progressed, I had a number of experiences with the police where the police were being
antagonistic,
very antagonistic. What happened is we live on a block that was the beginning of people starting to serve drinks in the street. Mm-hmm. And it's quite chaotic out here, with certain restaurants were allowing masses of people to form drinking. And I went and spoke to the police, like, what's going on with this? Because, this is at that point, it was new to us. Now we're very familiar with it. But then it was the beginning, and this was a residential kind of block. And suddenly there's 100 people drinking. And what the police told me to my face is, if they're going to let them protest the Black Lives Matter, these people can stand out here and drink all day. Mm-hmm. Now they're telling this to a middle-aged white man. None of the police at that point were wearing a mask. This was when this was still we
still can't get them to wear masks.
And it was clear to me that they were deliberately being, that they felt that they were being picked on. Let me put it like that they felt that they weren't getting support. So they weren't going to give support. And they have no idea, as I'm saying, like, if they're going to be that rude and disrespectful to a middle-aged white guy, then how are they going to be behaving to other people? Because they don't know my politics. I didn't come at them in an aggressive fashion either. I came at them extremely politely, actually, just trying to find out, like, what's going on with all this drinking in the street here. This is not, that's never been permitted before. So they
might have been expecting an ally in you.
Right. Well, they probably are expecting an ally. Yeah. Well, that's what always happens with me. So many people have, cab drivers and other people have been very open with me about their dislike for Black people, because they don't assume that, I didn't want to tell them I was just going down on a Black woman who's been my wife for 35 years. So I'm like, not your typical white guy, but I am a typical white guy in a certain sense. And that's why I thought you were extremely brave, because it's such a telling thing in our society, the way Black people are treated. It's so obvious when you deal with the police, including Black police force. It's just so obvious how disrespectful they are, and how they, it seems like.
Let's hear from Gia.
Okay.
Let's hear from Gia. I mean,
Well,
he's the white guy. Always got to tell you what
I
he
was trying to
thinks.
ask a question there.
Well, what's the question?
I was trying to find the question.
Oh, you
I was
don't have- I
searching
have
for the
a
question. Okay,
question.
then you ask the question.
Okay, so Gia, where are you now in terms of your mindset, in terms of what's happening?
I'm furious. This has been, it's an absolutely devastating experience.
Mhm.
I mean,
You went to jail as well, right? That you were arrested.
oh yeah, like we've been arrested. It's
And so-
not just once.
And this was in the COVID thing. So when you were arrested, you were really having your health put at risk because you're being put, in a small confined area with other people.
Yeah, I got sick.
Oh, you did get sick.
I noticed you're saying we,
Yeah.
which I think is so powerful. So are you with an organization, a group of people? Okay.
We're a family. It's the Black Lives Matter. It's trans liberation. It's everyone. We don't have an organization. Sometimes we work in little factions in order to do particular mutual aid, like to feed people in this community or to protest ICE in particular, or for the housing. But it's not the big it's not Black Lives Matter that people donate money to. It's the movement.
Yes.
And I've seen that because we live in
Yes.
Greenwich Village with the transgender thing as well.
Yes,
Like I've definitely seen that.
Yeah.
And like what I said to Hassan at that point was, like, I have to be really careful in these situations because I have a super big mouth and I get very irritated and very agitated, and I tend to get into shit with the police very quickly. And that happened to me because I just couldn't believe the level of disrespect. You are, nobody forces anyone to become a police officer. This is your choice. You made a choice that this is what you want to do. And when you're saying to people on the side of your car about respect, that's supposed to be, what you're doing, right? You don't have to be a policeman or policewoman. You don't have to do that. It's not like people are putting a gun to your head and making you do that. And it was just truly amazing. And I'm thinking, you went to jail. I mean, how did that feel for you? Have you ever been in jail before?
I had never been in jail before, no, but I got used to it. I don't know what to say about how it felt. It's a disgusting place. Everyone should experience it, because that way, just like everyone should be a server in a restaurant or at some point.
Yes.
Because that way you understand how to treat people.
Yes.
Well, we've talked about that a lot because during the corona, so many people want to eat out. And I started to realize that people like to go to restaurants because they want to have someone serve them.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. They want to feel that somebody is beneath them. And I've worked in the service industry almost my whole life. So I have a strong feeling. I've said to Hassan, like, I'm very interested in, when I first started dating her, how you treat service people means a lot to me. If you're the kind of person and I see that you're not cool to people who are serving you, I know that it's not going to work, So she passed my test. She got an A+.
Well,
A+ in everything. Everything she does.
I went out to dinner with someone who, quote unquote, said all the right political, social aware things. And I was appalled at how she treated waitstaff. I mean, from the moment we walked in, and I said to her, I can't go out with you. This just does not work for me. Yeah. I don't get what this is about. And it's so wrong. I said to her, I don't really care about your political point of view. To me, this is very telling about you. And I truly, truly believe that.
See, I'm super claustrophobic. This is another thing. Like, I'm a really claustrophobic person. I get off.
We're in a really small box right now.
Really, and I'm in a very small box.
Yeah.
And I've tried to get off the plane. I'm like, so I'm always, that's a big fear of mine, to get arrested, because if you're arrested, number one, you get handcuffed. Now, on the handcuff thing, let me do a quick segue here and get a little less serious for 1 second. Now, I did notice that we posted this from our last show. We had talked about monogamy, and that we said that because Will Smith said monogamy was being in prison, and I said I was in a kind of a mental bondage thing that's a turn on of claustrophobia. And you said physical bondage is okay with you, but not mental bondage.
Right.
So when you were handcuffed, was there any excitement in there? Was like that, you know, because that's like real life bondage. That's not like a fantasy kind of bondage.
Yeah, so I've made a lot of jokes about this because most people in the movement know that I'm a dominatrix. So I was professionally in the past, and you're never not one. I mean, when that's your life experience.
Yeah.
So that's how terrible it is, that it completely strips it of all of its erotic potential.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you know, I can feel that, you know, I get that. And I think it makes it easier for me because I understand all of that. But
because you're talking about there's no consent.
Well,
there's
yeah,
no
there's
consent.
Definitely no.
So it's you know, the thing about that relationship is there's some type of consent. And here there's no consent, there's no safe word, there's no none of that. It's all on their side. Yeah.
Well, I think that a lot of police people, men and female, they get into it because they're basically sadistic. There's a sadistic, you know, I'm not saying every single person, because you can never say anything is inherently true. Nothing is inherently true. There's always decent people in every profession. Like you can find a few decent politicians, but the average police officer or police woman, they like the uniform. They like you know, it's a kind of S&M kind of vibe that they get to enact, except it's not in, as you said, with consent. It's with consent of the powerful people, the elites. Give them consent to protect property. That's the whole purpose of the police.
Yeah.
We had on our show a New York City police sergeant a while back on our radio show. And you're giving me a
yes, I want to hear her talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, you know,
this is a dominatrix wife over here.
I want to hear her talk.
Dominatrix to dominatrix. I'll just sit here. Does anybody have a pair of panties? I'll put them on and let's make it a better show.
Let her talk. Go ahead.
During one of our first Halloweens together, Carlo and I dressed up for the TNC Halloween thing, and I was a cop and he was a Wall Street guy. And we won the prize when we didn't mean to, but we did a little S&M number on the stage there. It just naturally happened. But I was like carrying him around on a leash, you know. Which is that's not our relationship, but you know, we're both actors, and so
Carlo playing a Wall Street guy, that's a pretty big stretch right there. So that's you know, him on a leash seems like a less of a stretch than him as a Wall Street guy, but that's just my fantasy.
Exactly.
No.
So how? Yeah, I mean, the thing with the cops is that it's not only that there's no safe word, it's that they will beat the shit out of you. They will kill you. Mm-hmm. So many of my friends have lifelong injuries, and they're teenagers. They're in their 20s, and they don't even know how serious that is from these little arrests for doing nothing.
I mean, just getting handcuffed, they treat you very rough when they handcuff you. They can break your arms and they can dislocate your shoulder, just how they, you know, I've seen them in action for years. So, you know.
That's just, so how is the theater doing? And tell us.
Well, let's tell her who she is first.
Yes.
What?
Go ahead.
No, you do it. You do it.
No, go ahead.
So Carlo and Gia run a theater called the Alchemical Studios.
Yes.
And Naima and I performed there for many years, actually, every Saturday night until the Corona hit.
Yes.
And we haven't been there in a long time. Actually, I'll tell you, on New Year's Eve this year, what I did was I walked to the Alchemical, and it was very deserted, the streets on New Year's Eve. And I just stood in front of the door
and cried.
And I actually had tears come down. I was like, you know, because I really love you guys and I love that space. I love doing it. So are people performing again? Are shows going on there, or what's happening at the theater?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're our favorite and our only regular show, actually, that has consistently been with us all of this time. And it's very grounding for me to have you there, because it's something that I really stand behind.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes, absolutely. And that's why we're there, because of that.
We love playing it because you two are like, it's not, you're not even like, I mean, you're not like normal theater owners or club owners. You know, you're really
Weirdos.
artists. You're artists.
Yeah.
You gave people an opportunity, and you're always very generous to us. So
look, the artists who are on the fringe, right? The everything opportunities are becoming less and less and less and less and less.
No, we're
less and less and less and less and less. And what you and Carlo did was create a utopia for artists like us that are on the fringe, have something to say. It might not be wrapped in the way you're used to hearing it. However, theater is about the imagination.
Mhm.
It's about the mind. It's about showing different ways and forms of things. So
yeah.
For us on that level, what you both created, it's more than just a physical space for us. And
Thank you for
it's
saying
highly appreciated, highly appreciated.
So, because, you know, we've been, you know, we know Broadway reopened, but that doesn't really mean much, because I know a lot of jazz clubs reopened, and smaller clubs are having a hard time getting audiences.
Mm.
You know, I think if you're a well-known act, like, I think people are going. But so how have things been going there? Because you also do other things like photography shoots and stuff like that. Are people returning?
Yeah. Well, we were open, so to speak, since June of 2020. Carlo and I were just there, and just a couple people would come in. You know, we're like, we have empty spaces, so a single photographer and a model could come in with their masks on. They stand across the room from each other. We didn't make money, and we didn't charge money. I mean, we had a lot of movement stuff coming through. If they needed space, or they're doing shoots, so we could offer them space. But the shows, it's a very slow situation, slow and uncertain situation. We're here for it, whatever it is.
And would people wear masks? Does the audience members wear masks?
The basic understanding in the theater community is that everyone is doing shows where the audience wears masks and the actors don't wear masks.
Right, okay.
And they're supposed to do, there's a state mandated vaccine situation going on,
right,
where they have to require vaccinations.
Right.
So that's the state.
Mm-hmm. Because we were wondering, just doing comedy with people in masks. That's a
How's
kind
that
of
work?
That's kind of,
Yeah.
you know, it's gotta be
You
a little,
can't see them,
gotta be
you
a
know, you
little
can't see them
bizarre.
laugh or
You
go,
can't, you know,
or go, ah, that sucks. You can't see none of that.
Well, we've gotten used to reading eyes.
Okay.
So listen
Yeah,
to this.
yeah.
In the movement, none of us saw each other's faces, sometimes for 6 or 9 months.
wow.
We have cried, laughed, bled, sweat with these people. Like, we were so close. We were very physically close. I've had physical contact the entire pandemic with no COVID transmission, by the way. We were outside. That works.
Mhm.
But every time we would see someone's face, it was shocking.
Wow.
And sometimes it was an incredible shock because the person was just like stunning. And other times it was just surprising because you make something up when you only see them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's
really.
never what's actually there.
Yeah. Well, we were doing it because when we were messing around, we were both wearing masks, you know, which we had never done before.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Not on that part of the face.
No, not on that part. No.
So we only have a couple of minutes.
Yeah,
So
so-
now we're going to do the silly lightning rod questions. So
Oh, boy.
lightning rod, these are quick, just whatever you think.
Yes,
just give us your answer.
And I know for dominatrix, it's not easy to let it go, but just let it go.
She would
Okay.
definitely know that. I don't know
Yeah,
how
I
she would
would
know
know
that,
that.
but
Okay.
you know.
So
Yeah.
pretzels or potato chips?
Pretzels, I guess.
All right.
All right. Water or wine?
Oh. More fine.
Earrings or no earrings when you're
Earrings.
Okay. out? Lipstick or natural?
Ooh. Lips.
Okay. Dogs or cats?
Cats.
Hang on.
Witchcraft or voodoo?
Ooh, witchcraft.
Okay.
Okay, can I get in with one
Go ahead.
question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
There's not too much S&M going on in this marriage.
No.
She's beaten me this entire interview here.
Yes.
So here we go. Now, you know that humans, as far as I know, are the only animals that are kinky. If you had to decide, could you describe, let's say, 2 dogs in a kinky situation?
2 dogs?
2 dogs. What do you think kinky sex, since you were a dominatrix, what would kinky sex be for 2 dogs?
See, I just don't take dogs very seriously. So it doesn't sound so appealing to me because I think that they would be really goofy about it, which is a fetish.
Yeah, I could see them, let's say, I could see them like being forced to lick a cat's feet, you know, or to do something that they wouldn't normally do, like a dog, you know, what do dogs like to do? They like to sniff. So you wouldn't let them sniff before they had to pee, something like that. That would be
they might torture each other, like sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
Where they just have to lay still, and if the tail wags, they get a whack.
That's good. That's good.
What is one thing about you that people would be surprised to know? Yeah, that thought.
Surprised to know. I mean, it depends on who you ask. I try to be really open, but I guess that some people wouldn't know that I used to do brain surgery I used to give cocaine and heroin to rats and do brain surgery on them.
Was that when you were at Columbia University? When you were studying post BACC pre-med?
It was for 6 years, but I was working at NYU Medical Center neuroscience.
Damn. Is there anything light you've ever done?
Well, she studied
No.
You're not light, right?
No, but happy though. But
you're happy, and you're very deep. And I do think that you have tremendous compassion. I just like to tell you that from my side, I was like really super, like I was kind of awestruck by how committed you were and and that only comes from a person with tremendous compassion. You know, compassion is the seed to become a Buddha. Without compassion, that's the seed, and you allow your compassion to ripen. And we're very happy to know you. And,
yes.
I hope this was painless for you, although you are, you like to give the pain.
I know.
But I hope you had a good time.
Yes.
I loved it. Thank you so much for this. And I look forward to
it'll be on in about a
direction as well.
Yes.
Please give it a big round of applause for Gia.
Support your life and what you do. And thank you for being the shero that you are. Thank you.
You're my inspiration as well. Thank you.
Just this is for editing purposes. And now
the
Jackies. The Jackies are coming. Don't go anywhere.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Wow, that was a lot. I never knew about that. I didn't know about unions.
Yeah, we don't need a union. We're not human.
Well, maybe we'll start a union because, the Epstein Hassan, they keep talking about how much they like the workers. We work on the show.
Wait, have you ever gotten paid?
That's what I'm
Jackie?
saying. They
I've
don't
never
pay
got
us anything.
shit from them.
As soon as somebody runs something, they don't want to pay you.
No.
I said to
What the
Epstein
hell
the
are
other
they
day,
talking about?
can you throw us a few bucks? I mean, we don't have
No,
bodies.
he handed us something, but he said it's invisible. We can't
He
go
gave
into
us
the
invisible
store.
money, so what are we going to do with
Bullshit.
that? It's amazing. And then he's always bragging about how horny he gets from her songs.
Yeah, he doesn't get horny from her song.
I saw him in bed the other night. That was ridiculous. I would have given, if this was like a,
Oh, it was
if this was an
disgusting.
ice skating, like where they judge it,
It was disgusting.
he would have got like a 1. He was
What kind of rhythm does he
he
have?
was drooling. He was farting.
Ah,
I mean, can you imagine a guy farting during
yeah,
sex?
she's snoring and yelling Big Daddy. Oh, it's disgusting.
But that interview they did was really good. I
Oh,
like
she's
that
pretty.
lady. She's
Yeah, I
very
like
pretty.
her.
She wants a dominatrix.
Yeah, I'm scared of
Is
that.
that what Hassan is?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Hassan don't get paid to do it.
No,
She
no.
does it for fun.
For love.
Fuck Niels.